Uh, okay, so welcome to August in this month in our native gardens. This monthly presentation is hosted by the St. Louis Wild Ones chapter, and we have Marcia here. Marcia, did you have anything to say uh, about Wild Ones news?
Um, um, Gosh, well, just that I'm really, really glad that this has come to be and that we are hosting this monthly series. I think it's just spectacular, and I think it's going to be something that others will want to emulate.
Yeah. Well, thanks for talking me into it, like all your good ideas. Okay, so this series of presentations is based sort of on this book I wrote, Wildflower Garden Planner, which is organized by month and kind of talks about what you should do in your native garden from month to month. And today we're talking about August. This is a view in my yard. This is the red lobelia, the cardinal flower, the blue lobelia, and then this yellow one here is the brown-eyed Susan, which is a beautiful plant, but think really hard before adding this to your yard because it will take over.
Hmm.
But it is beautiful. But I planted it once and I've been trying to kill it for the last 5 years. So be careful. So this month we're going to talk about our topics are wetlands as inspiration, neighbor approved garden ideas, and I have brought a neighbor today. We need pollinators, species to collect, trade, and grow, species to collect in August, annuals, which I did a lot of like trying to find these to take photos for you guys. And I even brought a bouquet of them too. So I'm excited about the annuals section. We're going to talk about Carolina buckthorn and some personal experience from Marcia on that. And we'll go over the colors this month. And so this photo here is one of my clients, and I actually went to her house today, and her landscaping, like lawn care company, had decided to clean up this patch of weeds and like cut it to the ground and mulched it. I was so angry, but I'm trying to, breathe and focus on good things now. So here I am. Hopefully, I will not spontaneously start yelling.
Hmm. Go ahead.
Okay, so wetlands. Wetlands are a great place to hang out in August because they're cooler, but they also have lots of mosquitoes this time of year. Um, but wetlands are very important because they absorb stormwater, and it's something that we can emulate in our garden. And it could be as small as this pot full of water with a wetland plant in it. This is the Thalia, the wild canna, which is one of my favorite flowers ever. So I recommend trying that. But you can see its root system here. It is upset about the size of this pot.
Hmm.
And then we have much a larger but still landscape size wetland here where I have all these wetland plants around this little pond that has a circulating pump. And then I have some of my plants that really love to have wet feet in here. And this is an area of my yard that does absorb a lot of stormwater and it attracts a lot of wildlife, especially the raccoons. Just think this is the best place. Like I have maybe 9 raccoons a night that come visit this pond to wash their hands, and plenty of other weird wildlife too. The feral cats like it a lot too, I think, because it has a lot of birds that come to it, and so they like that. But your wetland, um, your tiny backyard wetland could be any size you want. It could be from a pot maybe your entire backyard is a wetland if you live really close to a river. But embrace the water. Don't try to drain it all off. And you get to grow really cool plants like this hibiscus back here with this giant flower. And then another thing, swales, they go along with wetlands, and a swale is a ditch. So this is a ditch that goes across my yard. On the left side here is one end of the ditch, and it goes across like this. And that way the water stays away from my house, which is where I'm taking the photo from, and away from this blue spruce, which came with the house and is continually dying. But I have a ditch. It's a very, like, it's less than a foot deep, and I'm growing all these wetland plants in it. So I have, this was the original picture of the month of August. And so I've got my brown-eyed Susan in there, my cardinal flowers, my blue lobelias, and this is the waxweed, which is one of the annuals we'll be talking about later. And these swales are great for directing water from one place to another. So I'm directing it from my little pond that's up here down to a rain garden that's down here. And so that it doesn't either come into my basement or get this tree too wet. And they're very easy to dig. You just get out there when the weather's nice, and it's about one shovel deep all the way down. And here are some plants you can grow in your imitation wetland. This one on the left is the hibiscus. I have a woman that I visited her house last week, and every day she sent me a picture of a bee in her hibiscus since then. So she's really loving her hibiscus, and there's bees that are hibiscus bees, and they just need these hibiscus, and they sleep in the flowers at night, so they're really cool. And this plant here is the arrowhead, which is also called wapato and Katniss. It's an edible native plant, and it likes wet feet, so it goes in your water garden or in just a water container. And this yellow one here is senna, which is kind of a weed. If you let one go to seed in your yard, you're going to have quite a few the next year. But I usually let one or two grow in my yard because they have a very special relationship with ants. And I'm going to talk about that later. I've got a picture of some of their extra floral nectaries that the ants like so much. Down on the bottom, we have swamp milkweed. This bumblebee is pollinating. And on the right, we have another picture of my swale with the brown-eyed Susan and the two different types of lobelias. And then this tree in the back is my Kentucky coffee tree, which is my main shade tree in my yard. And I love it. All right. This is my neighbor's yard. So I'm standing on my roof. I was checking out my bat house to see how the bat poop was going because I never see the bats, I just see the poop. Looking over the edge at Diana's beautiful yard here. And so Diana's here, and I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about your garden. I know that like my garden's native focused and your garden's has a lot of medicinal plants in it and also edible plants, right?
Right, yeah, and some just strictly ornamental but non-native in this garden. But there's an awful lot of native plants in there, and we were talking about this earlier about how my relationship with you as your neighbor really impacted my decisions about what plants to plant and how to take care of them, and how just that influence that you had on me was really quite significant when it came to what I chose to plant in the yard. So I'll probably never be quite a complete native plant person because I just love so many different kinds of plants, and I like a lot of flowering plants. So that's why I have, like down in the, let's see, lower right on the screen. Yeah,
This one, your little
yeah,
herb garden here,
yeah. Well, actually, that's not the herb garden. The herb garden's up above, but that's
over here.
lavender. Yeah, so those are, and that's the lavender garden, and I probably will always have lavender. Um,
I was noticing here, this one here, you wanted a hydrangea, and I was like, oh, there's an extra one in my mom's yard. And you went to my mom's house and dug this up and brought it
yes,
home, didn't you?
yes, I did. Yeah,
And
and
and I was
that
always jealous because your hydrangea looked got so much bigger than mine.
yeah, I don't know why. Maybe because it got more sun. I'm not sure, but
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 you
that
actually water your yard too. I don't
well,
water, and you do water.
it's true. I overwatered quite a lot of things, but that hydrangea has the nicest shape too. It was really, really round, and when those flowers blossom, they're incredible. And the amount of flying insects that come to that plant is just amazing. I mean, there must be 5 different kinds of bees, and there's hoverflies and all kinds of stuff. It's really quite an amazing plant. And I do like plants that are a little bit more formal and not quite so rangy, and that really fits the bill. So,
Yeah, another plant over here. This one is your blue wild indigo, which I think is another one that I influenced you to buy.
you did.
And I remember always like mine would bloom before yours would. And so you'd be
Mhm.
checking on my blooms and then going over to your house and being like, why haven't you bloomed yet? But it was fun to see our two indigos bloom at different times and bloom different colors. A little bit like we had different shades of purple too.
Yeah, yeah, that one was really quite amazing because it just got so big. And I knew it would get a little bit big because yours was, but I didn't expect it to get quite that big. But that's okay. So I just allowed for the space and tried to put other things in there that would go with it. And yeah, pretty amazing. And then I think over, let's see, if you move your pointer to the right and up by the fence, yeah. So that's
Serviceberry.
oh, is that this? Oh, that is the
Yeah,
serviceberry. Okay.
the serviceberry has died since,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Diana's boyfriend loves this serviceberry. It used to be I got to harvest all the serviceberries until I introduced him to eating serviceberries, and now he eats all of them.
We really had to get in there before the birds did. But they're delicious. They're really quite amazing how tasty they are. They're about the tastiest berry I've ever eaten that wasn't a, deciduous, like a blackberry or a blueberry or something like that people typically plant.
And you
So,
guys will notice that Diana's method of gardening is a little bit more formal than mine, a lot more formal than mine. And so right here along this edge is the border between our two yards. And Diana spent a lot of time on this border digging up my wild strawberries that were coming over and my brown-eyed Susans. And I had Drummond aster. Like I know that those were some weeds that you were constantly battling that were coming out of my yard. So how do you feel about that?
oh, I thought it was fine because I got you back because you had sunflowers, which the seeds washed down from my bird feeders. And it seems like there
Yes.
was something else too that I had in my garden that kind of, oh, maybe it was the Joe Pye weed.
Oh
So
yeah,
I had
that
Joe
came from your
Pye.
yard.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, we traded. Yeah.
Traded weeds.
Traded weeds.
Another
Yeah.
thing Diana did to me, which was I still haven't forgiven her for, but so her garden went right along the edge of my garage and she planted like right on that corner next to my garage. She planted stinging nettle. And she was going
Cute.
to eat it, but I did not. I mean, I'm not a mean person, but I definitely had some things to say about your stinging nettle sometimes.
Well, that was one of the medicinal plants that I make a tea out of it and put it in my smoothies. So yeah. Unfortunately, some of the medicinal plants are quite invasive. They don't all sting like that, but they tend to be invasive. So yeah, it's the balance. So
Yeah. So what was really great is here at this table, we would both sit, drink coffee, talk about the plants. Like I'd show her the cool bugs in my yard and you'd show me the cool bugs in your yard. And it was just nice to like be close to each other and be able to talk plants and do it so often.
plants and bugs, yeah.
Mhm.
It was wonderful. And I remember you gave me a strawberry, Arbutus unido, I think, back right underneath the maple tree. So, but all the way, yeah, and then yeah, it was up a little bit more up.
This
Anyway,
one?
yeah,
No. Oh,
so
the strawberry bush up here.
strawberry bush, yeah,
Yeah.
strawberry bush, right, yeah. So, and it never really did very well, but most of the plants that you gave me, and I was saying earlier, I got first dibs since I lived right next door on her plant swap plants. And if I happened to see something in her yard that I really liked, I'd say, can I just have a little, just a little piece of that or a little cutting or something like that? And she would give it to me. So she did give me the strawberry plant. And I think maybe that was one of the ones that I watered too much. But it never
It's
did.
still alive back there. I saw it recently. It's doing all right.
Is it? Good.
Yep.
Okay. Well, that's because the people who live there now don't water, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. On the next slide here, I have some things that I think are good for communicating with your neighbors. And Diana, you can give me feedback on how well I did this. So, so neighbors can be worried about the bees, mosquitoes, snakes, raccoons, mice. I know that Diana did not particularly like my raccoons the way I did, and she didn't really like the bunnies, but you weren't really worried about the insects. I have had other neighbors though that I have another neighbor who said asked me to keep my bees out of their yard. So I do my best.
No, I actually love the insects. I find them very fascinating, and especially the pollinators. So I wasn't worried about that. Raccoons, if it weren't for the fact that I grew vegetables, I would raccoons would be fine. But they did tend to get into stuff, and especially the rabbits did. So we transplanted them just as you would a plant. We transplanted them elsewhere. So yeah, and the weed seeds. I love the
Yeah,
weed
weed
seeds.
seeds,
Yeah, because
leaves.
well, I don't know about
I think
well,
most of the
yeah.
leaves were coming from your yard into mine actually, but I don't mind leaves at all because they're just fertilizer.
They make great compost. And the
Yeah.
seeds, so a lot of your annuals that you've got a picture of came into my yard, and that was wonderful. I loved them. And the one that you don't have a picture of is the snow on the mountain. And that's one of my absolute favorite.
On
Yeah,
here,
love
I
those.
I actually picked this one out of your yard about an hour ago, so they're
Oh, you
doing well.
did? Those are so cool. Yeah. And they just thrive and you don't have to do anything to them. They're wonderful. So
So the current person who lives in Diana's house is not like the birds pooping on her car. And I don't know. I commiserate with her, but I haven't done anything about it. Like I still invite the birds to my house. She's just going to have to go to the car wash more often. But I do try to, hear other people's opinions. Like we are ambassadors for native plants, so we have to at least act like we care that they don't like the raccoons eating their vegetables, and be supportive and try to be understanding. And can you see this? So it's kind of far on the right here. The little signs that I have in my yard here. This is another way to let your neighbors know that you just are not growing weeds. You actually are doing something with a purpose. And you can get really cool signs from Wild Ones and Monarch Way Station and Xerces Society. The Xerces Society has some good Leave the Leaves signs. And Brigham Conservation Home has good signs. Grow Native has nice signs. So they're a way to make your yard look uh, like you know what you're doing, or at least somebody agrees with what you're doing.
And that's something that you definitely influenced me with as well, because now where I live, I have one of those from somebody. I can't remember who it is, but I got one. I have it posted, and we're beginning to put flags around all the native plants because we live on a corner and we really want to introduce people to the native plants. So I have been inspired by your example to do the same thing.
Yeah, so now that you are out in DeSoto, we're spreading the native plant message to DeSoto.
Yep.
Is this an okay time, or do you have it someplace else to mention the native plant tags that are available through Wild Ones, through the Wild Ones website, which
Yeah,
is
right
another
now.
way?
Yeah, those are really nice signs. That they're little, white signs, and they actually have a picture of the plant and the scientific name and common name in little stakes. And I like that they're plastic instead of metal, so they don't give you tetanus.
Yeah.
Because I'm very good at hurting myself on yard signs. Because you forget that they're there, and I actually have a wound right now from running into metal in the garden. So one more thing I did to talk to my neighbors was to bring them literature about native plants and send them YouTube videos that the Prairie Foundation puts out, and Grow Native and Wild Ones, invite them to a Wild Ones meeting, bring them to other presentations, and then or have garden tours in your yard. So I am usually on the Sustainable Backyard Tour, and recently I made this giant sign. I should have taken a picture of it, but I put it out in the street and it says free garden tour Sunday. And I just had a lot of neighbors just come by and they're like, wow, I've driven past your yard all the time and I was wondering what's going on, and they wanted to see it.
Cool.
I only got positive feedback. I got a lot of, wow, this was a lot, but they didn't say anything mean to my face. It just, so this is, so the one on the right is my mom's yard with the brick pavers through her shade garden. And then the one on the left is actually the client that had their landscaping crew mow down the swamp milkweed patch. But she has like a flagstone concrete path. And having like these more hardscape paths really helps to define a space and make it look more friendly, less scary, I think. And you saw those nice paths that Diana had in her yard too, and they were a different color of mulch, which made them very obvious that this is the path. The plants won't hurt you. So make your yard inviting with easy paths. All right, this is next subject. Did you have anything else you wanted to say, Diana, before we change subjects?
No, I don't. No,
All
nothing
right.
else.
Well, thanks for coming. It's been great to meet you as a neighbor, and now we are just friends. Although I miss you as a neighbor.
Yep, same here. So, yep, thanks for inviting me. It was good to be here.
Okay, so we need pollinators. All of us know that. But I thought I would, you know, say it again. We need pollinators. They're very important for fertilizing all the plants. And they're also a source of food for the birds, the fish. The raccoons are even eating your bugs and the armadillos. And so they're very, if you kill your insects in your yard, you're screwing up your ecosystem. So don't do that. We love plants and the insects and all the rest of them. And cool fact, there are over 200 species of bees within the city of St. Louis. St. Louis, so we are very lucky in St. Louis to have so many species of bees. And this plant here, Rattlesnake Master, is great at attracting pollinators, especially these giant wasps go on it. And the wasp will not sting you because they're too busy pollinating this plant. They're just very focused and don't even notice that you're there. And here is another insect. So this is different life stages of a ladybug. So the little yellow things, these guys, these are aphids. That's ladybug food. But this guy over here, he's a baby ladybug. This is a baby ladybug exoskeleton. This weird thing over here is a ladybug. And then this is a ladybug that just hatched out of its exoskeleton down below. And all of these things eat aphids. So, and these are actually pictures from Diana's garden. And so it's really nice to, if you see any of these weird things on your milkweed, let them live so they can eat your aphids. And if you have aphids, instead of poisoning them, look for these ladybug babies. They're probably on there. And if you kill all your aphids, you're going to kill your ladybugs. So just let the natural process go. Sometimes it's hard to watch, but patience. And here is another aphid predator. So these little eggs on stalks here, these are lacewing eggs. A lacewing's like a green flying thing with transparent wings. They're very tiny. I didn't get a picture of an adult, but these are the babies. And this is a juvenile lacewing before they fly away. And the lacewing, you can see right here, he just ate an aphid. It's right there. And here's some more aphids over here. And these brown aphids are actually the zombie aphids. They've been parasitized by a wasp. And I hope that if you can have a big enough screen right here, you can see a wasp that is parasitizing a lacewing egg. And these brown guys here have also been parasitized by a different wasp. So the wasps are here to make our lives interesting and cool things you can find in your yard. So go out there with your microscope, find some cool things. Find the cool bugs doing cool things. Species to collect, trade, and grow. So this is an article I wrote, which is in the Wild Ones website archive somewhere. So if you look that up, you can read the whole article. It's also in my book. And so my favorite species to collect, trade, grow is wild columbine. Like it's very easy to get a lot of seeds out of one plant, and they are big enough you can see, so that is nice. And so they're easy to give to other people, they transport easily, and you just sprinkle them on the ground and they'll grow. So also aromatic aster, that's another one that's really easy to collect, easy to give someone. You just sprinkle it on the ground and it grows. Lanceleaf coreopsis, same thing. Purple prairie clover. Purple prairie clover, you really have to get it in the right habitat, but as long as you sprinkle the seeds in the right place, it'll grow really easily. The wild bergamot, groat, black-eyed Susan, royal catchfly, and cliff goldenrod. So if you're getting started with collecting seeds and making up seed packets, maybe for the wild ones plant seed swap, I recommend these, is this 11? No, 8 plants. I recommend these for starting with. And they're also very easy to get started from seed. And seed cleaning. So there's a couple different ways to clean seeds. And some of them is just like with the columbine, I just stick a bucket below the plant and shake the seeds into the bucket. With these milkweeds here, when the stalk starts to split, I grab that fluffy thing and then try to scrape the seeds off of the fluff and then let the fluff can fly away, and I have all the seeds in a bucket. Sometimes you'll find things like a compass plant. Like those are ones that you can sift them in front of a fan and the seeds will fall down because they're heavier and all the other debris kind of blow away in the fan. I recommend not doing that in your house. Do it like in your driveway or something. Seeds with fluff, like the asters, goldenrods, I take the whole seed head, stick it in a paper bag, let it dry, and then shake the bag really well. And all the seeds, well, a lot of the seeds, not all of them, they'll fall to the bottom. And then you can take the seed heads with what remaining seeds I have and throw it out in a prairie somewhere. And then the seeds at the bottom of the bag, you can trade for other seeds or plant them. So those are some seed cleaning tips. Every plant has its own best way to clean it, and I recommend the internet for figuring that out. There's also some books about it, and asking one of the people at the Wild Ones meeting is probably a good way to find the answers to how to clean different seeds. Seeds to collect this month, or seeds that you normally collect in August. This year has been a little weird, so but a lot of these are making seeds, like things like the purple coneflower. The seeds, like as soon as the seeds are ripe, is when the goldfinches are eating them. So you have to get out there, collect the seeds immediately, because if you wait, the goldfinches will eat them all, and then you won't get any purple coneflower seeds. Or you can just let the finches have all your purple coneflower seeds, and then you don't have to buy bird food. It's a toss-up. Shining Blue Star I was looking at earlier today, and it is not anywhere near ripe yet on my plant, so I'll have to give that a little bit more time. But these are ones that should be ripe in August in general and ready to collect. Seed storage. So I like these these are called coin envelopes. I buy them by a box of 500 at a time. And then I use address stickers. And I use Excel on my computer to make up the labels, print them off. And I just stick a little bit of seeds in each bag, put the label on it. These labels don't have a year on it, but you should always put a year, month and a year would be nice of when you collected this, because if your seed's from 2022 right now, it won't germinate as well as fresh seed. And if you take them to a Wild Ones meeting for trading, they need to have the date that you collected them on there. But always use the common name, scientific name, and the more information you can put on there, the better. All right, annuals. Now we're going to talk about annuals. In my I have a bouquet of annuals that I picked for you guys. And so I'm going to go over, so I've got information about all these except for the wallflower, which is a picture, a plant I don't have. So if any of you have wallflower seeds, I want them. I need them all. Okay, so first we've got the waxweed, which is, I've got some of that in here. So the waxweed is really, it has a purple stem on it, which is very cool. And it also makes a nice red fall color, which I really like. And it has a flower here. Like you can see this flower in the upper right-hand corner. Looks significant, but it's tiny. So the flower is not really what you're growing it for. You're growing it for the wet red stems, the red fall color. And they're also just a really great ground cover. They're about a foot tall and fill in edges nicely. I like to grow them along the path because they kind of keep the taller plants standing up and off the path. Snow on the mountain, that's the one Diana was talking about. The snow on the mountain is a euphorbia, which is the, what's that Christmas plant that's a euphorbia? That's a poinsettia. So it's like a poinsettia. All this white here is actually the leaves. You can see the little tiny white flower here. Most of the white is a variegated leaf. And some people do have skin irritation from this, like poinsettia. They have a milky sap. And so don't eat this for sure. But it's kind of a cool plant. And when I throw seeds out of this, it usually does not come up where I put it. You just have to embrace it where it shows up in your yard. There's other euphorbias that are annuals, but I don't know of any others that you can go get seeds for at a garden center. But in the wild, you'll find them. And you'll be like, why does that plant have pink stripes on its leaf? And well, see if it's a euphorbia. Black-eyed Susan, that's this guy. And I love this. This is Alberta's mailbox here. And so she has the perfect mailbox cover for Black-eyed Susans. And they're just really easy to grow, kind of aggressive, can take over, but they're also very easy to pull out. So I give them a try. They're also very easy to confuse with the millions of other yellow flowers that look like this right now. We could do an entire hour presentation about the different yellow flowers that look like Black-eyed Susan. All right, this one is the red whiskers, which is a Lanzia, which has another common name, clammy weed. Is that this one? But I like red whiskers better. The red whisker is for on the screen. You can see these little anthers here. They're the red whiskers. And this is a nice little short plant. It comes up in various places around the yard. It is kind of sticky if you rub up against it, which is a negative, but the hummingbird moths love this plant. So you can plant a big clump of it like this, and you'll definitely see hummingbird moths in your yard. Like they'll be there the first year. They love it. It's another Black-eyed Susan there. What's the next plant? Ruellia. That's so what we have left here is Ruellia. And that is the hairy wild petunia. And it's a very short plant. It's like that foot tall, but also can lay down flat and be much shorter. But this is great for growing in between the rocks in your patio. Um, it will grow out of like a crack in asphalt or your sidewalk. It likes it dry and rocky, but it's a great ground cover. It's annual. So just um, so with all the annuals, what I do when I pull them up at the end of the year, I usually when I'm cleaning up in fall, I'll be pulling some of them up because they're in the wrong place or something, and then I will take that what I pulled up, stick it in a bucket, let it dry. The seeds all fall to the bottom of the bucket. Then I can take that plant debris and just sprinkle it where I want it to grow next year. Or just let it fall where it is and it'll come back in the same place year after year. But if you do pull up all your stuff, all your plants, your annuals, and you throw them in your yard waste and send them away to the city compost, you're not going to get them next year because the seeds didn't fall. This is Spanish needles. That's another one I don't have in my yard, but Penny does. So I took some photos of hers. And this is another tiny little yellow plant. It's a great texture, bunch of very thin, grassy, wispy, I guess, ground cover plant, and has these sweet little pink flowers. And they don't need much water. This one I have in my yard, but it's not blooming. So I went down to a river and took a picture of this. So the yellow one is Impatiens pallida, and the orange one is Impatiens capensis. Is that right? So you can pick yellow or orange. The orange one's more common to find. They're very similar growth habits. But being orange, trumpet shaped, you can see a hummingbird would like that. They really like wet soil. Like a moist woods, they'll grow in a swamp. They like your wetland garden. And when the seeds are ready to go, plant explodes. So the seeds just go flying. So your patch of impatiens of jewelweed will be bigger every year. So be ready. And it's also an exciting experience to walk through it and be constantly being hit by flying seeds as it stamps them out at you. Right. So those are the annuals. A lot of times annuals come up in the spring later than your perennials, so you might think that they all died off, but leave that space empty for them. They'll come up later. It just takes them a while to get started since they don't have that root system from last year. They're starting from a seed every year. And you can also buy these already germinated from a garden center, but growing them from seed is a lot cheaper. It's just try to keep perpetuating it yourself in your yard or collecting seeds from your friends. So next we're going to talk about this tree. I'm going to try to share this video, this special shrub. We're going to see how many pollinators you can count in this video. I'm mostly seeing honeybees and wasps so far. All right, this shrub is in Marcia Gephardt's yard, in her front yard. Oops. And it's the Carolina buckthorn. And I invited Marcia to talk about this plant. Do you want to say anything about it, Marcia?
Well, sure. Um, I did a little research, learned more about it as a result of you asking me to. So that
And,
was
and you grew that from seed, right? Or did you buy it?
it was part of what was planted, the whole huge planting in my front yard um, about almost 11 years ago. So that's
Well, it's
how
a
old.
beautiful round plant now.
Yeah, yeah. It's about, I'd say 12, 15 feet tall now after 10, 11 years. I haven't pruned the top of it at all. I have pruned around it a bit because there is a path under part of it. One of the things that you suggested I research and found that's worth saying is that contrary to its name, Carolina buckthorn, that it has no thorns. Um, it's native to this area. It is good in full sun to medium shade. Mine is in medium shade to shade. It does seed, but not aggressively. I've got a few babies in my yard, but that's good because that's an opportunity to share it.
I have one of your babies is in my yard now, and I brought it over. It's about an inch tall, and now it's 3 feet tall.
Cool. Um, they say that its height reaches 25 to 35 feet. I'd say mine is about 12 to 15 after 10 years or so in medium shade. They say, well, you just did a great video of the many types of insects that are attracted to the flowers for pollen and nectar. And then talking about the fruiting, which is August to October, although like so many things happening earlier this year, already it's covered with red berries, which turn black and shiny at maturity and persist into winter. They say they're sweet. I have not tasted one and considered edible by some. Were used by Native Americans, which accounts for the plant's other common name, which is Indian cherry. The medicinal use, they used the bark to make tea, to induce vomiting. Also, it's a strong laxative. The fruit and bark will cause diarrhea and vomiting, so hopefully you don't need that.
The fruit is sweet, but also causes vomiting.
Well, I don't know if that's necessarily true if you were to, I don't know. It says edible by some.
All
So
right.
I don't know quite what that means. I think that suggests caution. Um, the fruit is the berries are eaten by several species of birds, especially the catbird and the pileated woodpecker. Also, they say robins, wax wings, and grosbeaks, and they say deer browse the twigs in winter. And then the foliage turns yellow to orange yellow in the fall and lasts into winter, which is a nice plus. And then Bessa suggested I explore where you could purchase. And most places I looked at Missouri Wildflower Nursery, which shows it at $8, but they're out of stock. They also give it a 4-star for formal gardens. It's all out of stock at Forest Keeling, but Greenscape Gardens has 3-gallon for $40. So I'm thinking probably we're looking at spring for most of us to get the plant, purchase the plant if we want, maybe at the probably at the wildflower plant sale at Shaw Nature Reserve.
Yeah, and I would suggest like nurseries like Missouri Wildflower Nursery or Greenscape. You can call them now and tell them that you would like to buy one in the spring, and then they're more likely to go order that for you.
Hmm.
Give them a heads up what you want next spring.
Cool.
And your plant also has a lovely shape to it. It's nice and round. It has a attractive. It's multi-stemmed.
Yeah,
It's a very nice front yard tree, I think.
I agree. Thanks for encouraging me to explore more about it.
So, what birds have you seen in it? I've seen robins. I remember seeing robins, but that's all.
I, I haven't observed enough. I need to get better at it.
Well, you have homework.
Yeah, right. Always.
Thanks for sharing your lovely shrub there. I hope that the rest of you consider getting Carolina buckthorn, Rhamnus caroliniana.
You know what? Let's see, I think it was Missouri Wildflower and other sources. They're calling it Frangula caroliniana.
All right, genus change.
Frangula. Yeah, yeah.
All right, I'm out of date already.
I know.
Okay, so now I'm going to go over the different colors that you can add to your yard. So if you're looking for more white in your yard, I suggest hibiscus rosemallow. You get these giant flowers, you get the special little hibiscus bees. And then I also have these two annuals here. So the snow on the mountain is a lovely white. Snow on the mountain is a large plant. It's like 3 feet, maybe 2 to 3 feet. And the bottom half, bottom 2/3 is just green. It's just white on the top. So stick it in with some other taller plants. And then also, this is the red whiskers, which has the red whiskers, but the petals are very light pink, whitish color. And then here's a bunch of yellows.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna quiz myself here. So what I recommended in the book for yellow was blue stemmed goldenrod, elm leaf goldenrod, sneezeweed. Those are ones that I didn't find photos for immediately, but I did find this is the wild senna. This one is brown-eyed Susan. This is tall coreopsis. This is a wing stem. This is, I don't know, sunflower of some sort. This one down here is Texas green eyes. Does anybody know what this one is up in the corner? No. All right. Mystery yellow plant. And so here is the cool senna photos. So here's a big patch of senna that is at the botanical garden. And then this little ant here is going to the extra floral nectary. He's actually sticking his foot in it. But an extra floral nectary, you can see this one down here, and there's one up here. It's a little nectar producing thing at the base of the leaf. And the ants get nectar out of it. And in turn, the ants protect the senna plant from invaders. So I'm touching this, and a whole bunch of ants came to inspect what I was doing. And then I just held it for a while, and they settled down and went and drank some more nectar and let me take their photo. But I did end up with lots of ants climbing up my arm doing this. and some curious onlookers at the botanical garden trying to figure out why I was taking pictures of ants in the plants. But sun is a cool plant. You should try it out. Great for ants. Here's some purple. So right now, mist flowers started blooming. It's a favorite of mine, even though it's an obnoxious weed to some people. Joe Pye, garden phlox, blazing star, wild onions, ironweed, blue sage. Down here we have blazing star, purple coneflower. This is the somebody help me out. What's this one called? Set clover, purple prairie clover, ironweed. This is American bellflower and phlox down here. And blue, we have blue lobelia. Here's blue lobelia. Here's 3 pictures of blue lobelia. And this one on the right here is fasciated, so it's got this really big stem. I saw this in one of the parks in Webster Groves. It was a monster plant. It was like that big around on the stem there. And pinks and reds, we have the swamp milkweed. This is a Joe Pye, and this is the cardinal flower. And don't forget green. This is river oats. This is a sedge of some sort. And then back here is that mist flower blooming, but right now it's mostly green. And there's ferns. There's so much green, and so don't forget green is a color. It comes in many shades. You can put one shade of green next to another shade of green, and you've got colors. And let's stop for questions. I kind of blasted without any questions stops yet. Sorry, Teresa.
That's all right. Well, one thing is Susan asked if maybe that one flower that we were not sure about was maybe an oxide sunflower
Yes,
potential.
that's it. You're right.
Okay, so other than that, let me double check chat. I see there's another thing over there. Okay, that was just Silphium? Is that another name for
Silphiums are yellow.
that was another guess?
Yeah.
Okay, so we do a couple of questions from email regarding some plants that are not doing well. The first one is, why do some spring plantings rather suddenly die midsummer after a seemingly healthy start? Leaves turn yellow, then paler yellow, then dead in 5 to 7 days. And some examples were Jacob's Ladder and Amsonia.
Yeah. So I think if that were happening, if they're dead, you might want to exhume your plant and see what's going on with the root system there. Like maybe they got a weevil that ate the roots, or also if you plant plants in the mulch instead of in the soil, they can go chlorotic like that and die. They're just not getting enough nutrients from the mulch.
Follow-up question on that, Bessa. What does chlorotic? That's an interesting word.
So it means they turn yellow. I'm not exactly sure. Like chlorophyll must be a lack of chlorophyll or something wrong with the It means they aren't getting the right nutrients,
Gotcha.
and so they turn yellow.
Gotcha. Okay, and then your second question is from Missouri Master Naturalist Sue Farquhar. Did I say that right? I don't know. But it's about her serviceberry. So she has a 3-year-old serviceberry. It was healthy and vigorous in its first year until a deer browsed most of its leaves in a single night. In the following 2 years, it has not produced many leaves, and she's wondering whether there's hope for this tree making a recovery or if it is time to give up.
Any plant that's in year 3, you shouldn't give up yet because they So the native plants, the first year they sleep, second year they creep, third year they leap. So it might just not be till leaping yet.
Mm.
Um, and I'm wondering, like, is it just deer browse or are there other insects munching on it? The service berries are very tasty to a lot of things.
Yeah, she's not mentioning chewed up leaves, just a lack of leaves.
I would hope that the plant's working on its root system in its sleep creep years and that it will leap soon is my hope there. And protecting it from the deer so that it can have as many leaves to produce nutrients as possible would be helpful. But I would just have patience.
That is all of the questions that we have for tonight.
I have a
Marcia has a
question.
question? Yeah.
You were talking about how to further annuals. And I missed what you said. Would you repeat? You said something about when you pull them up, then you can,
How I collect the seeds part
for annuals? Is that what you
for
were talking about?
annuals.
This?
Yeah. So when they are done with their life, and it's winter time, a lot of them I will just leave as ground cover over the winter because you don't want to clean up your yard before winter for the insects. But some of them are growing out of cracks in the asphalt and whatever. So I will pull those ones up and I just take them and stick them in a dry container. Usually I stick them in a 5-gallon bucket or you can stick them in a paper bag and let them finish drying out and they will drop their seeds when they finish drying out. And then I can just collect the seeds from the bottom of the container and sprinkle them where I want the plant to grow next year, or put them in little baggies and give them away to friends.
Thanks.
And some things, like especially the waxweed, because it is sticky, it's kind of a sticky mess to deal with. So a lot of times I will just gather it into a bundle and then take the whole mess and put it where I want it to be growing and then stomp on it a bit so that the seeds fall off and into the ground. So I'm not out there individually collecting seeds off the annuals. Instead, I cut them off at the ground or pull the whole thing up and try to get the seeds to fall out where I want them to go.
I'm particularly interested in furthering my snow on the mountain, which does grow up, between things, but it hasn't been very. I want more.
So I hope this is in focus, but you see these green balls on here? Let's see. Green balls are the seeds and they turn brown when they're ready. There's like 3 seeds per flower head. And so when they start turning brown is when you would harvest the plant, like cut off the stem or something, put it in a bag and to collect the seeds. Or if you don't have the patience for that, even cut the plant off, go put it on the ground where you want it to grow and give the stalk. Or you can ask me to collect some seeds from you for you too.
All right.
Right, Teresa, is there anything else?
Those are all of the questions that we have for tonight.
All right. So our next meeting is September. I can't believe it's September. Hopefully a little cooler in September. But I guess we'll be getting ready for fall next meeting, September 4th, 7 p.m. And I'll see you all then. Go enjoy this nice weather.
Mhm.
Too. Thank you, Bessa.
Good night.
Thank you.